Have you ever been in a boring conversation, a conversation you've wanted to get out of, a conversation that isn't adding value to your life, or in a conversation where the person's doing all the talking and they're talking about stuff that you're not interested in, or they are completely disinterested in you? So it doesn't matter if you talk, you know they're not listening, or they're playing what I call shoulder tennis. So they're looking over each of your shoulders, looking for somebody better to talk to. Now, as an old lady, I've experienced all of those. And as an old lady, I'm a bit over them. I don't want to do it anymore. So here's a great question. How do you get out of those conversations, or how do you avoid getting into them in the first place? How do you become such a great communicator that you don't have to put up with that kind of stuff? And if you do have to, how can you learn from it, grow from it, get better at it, or get better at communicating because of those horrible conversations? So I learned at a very, very young age that people aren't interested in me, they're interested in themselves. So if you're in business, or if you are a coach or a teacher or a boss, or you work in a business and you're talking to your customers or clients, you have to listen to what they've got to say, not talk about yourself. If you talk about yourself, you'll end up breaking down the relationship because nobody's interested in you. Now that might sound very harsh, but if you think about all the conversations you've ever had, how many of those have you been genuinely interested in what the person's got to say? They're talking about their sore foot or their headache or their terrible kids or their financial situation or what they did on the weekend or any of those things. And I can't even say weekend because I always say strong end. Strong end is for people who are strong. Weekends are for people who are weak. And I share that just for fun because that's what I'm doing with conversations now. Because I'm an old lady and I really am over having to waste time. As you get older, you realize that life is very, very short. Even if I live to 120 or 30, which I'm planning on doing by accident or injury, life is short. And to waste time listening to people talk rubbish or talk negative or gossiping or criticizing or talking about the boring weather, then I don't want to be involved in those conversations. So if I have to be, because it's a business colleague or it's for some reason I have to get involved in that conversation, I practice my communication skills. And this is a really fun thing to do if you're ever in my situation. If you think that people are interested in you, try this. So if you start talking and you can tell that the person is just not interested in what you've got to say, they're not listening, they're looking over your shoulder, they're thinking about what they're going to say next, and you can usually see that on somebody's face. I always make some random statement. There were two hippopotamuses playing pool, drinking margaritas, dancing together. And it's really fun when you say something as ridiculous as that. For the person, they look at you and go, oh, really, that's cool. And then they continue talking, telling you about what they were going to talk about, because they obviously weren't listening to what you had to say. I'm sharing that with you because I have spent my entire life learning about communication. That's what business is about. You have to be good at communication. And if you're a coach or you're a teacher, you have to be good at communication. And there are surely people in your life that you are genuinely interested in. So you ask lots of questions to get lots of information. But it never ceases to amaze me how much talking people do without me ever asking a question. Have you ever been in that situation where people just tell you about their life and their sickness and their family and all the things going on in their life? And I think to myself, I didn't even ask a question and you're telling me all about yourself. The funny side note to that is when I teach communication, because at the Max International Colleges, obviously when you're in business, you have to be a superb communicator. We talk about the importance of asking questions. And some people say to me, oh, but people don't like you to ask them questions because they don't like talking about themselves. Well, that's just not true, and I share that as a statement, because if you ask the right questions and you are genuinely interested in what they've got to say, or even if you pretend to be genuinely interested, lean forward, maintain eye contact, open body language, and actively listen, people will talk and they'll tell you all about themselves. I'm asking these questions for a reason though. I don't want to be the person that devalues somebody else's life, which is why I'm and I'll give you the example of this. People don't ask me how I am. People say, Rowie, I know that you're awesome. You're always awesome. That makes me very boring. So people don't ask, what are you doing? People seem to think they know all about my life. So nobody ever asks me about my life. I have people who think they're my friends, people who are really close to my circle. Well, they think they're in my circle of influence because I'm in business with them or they're have a lot to do with them at certain periods of time in my life. They don't know anything about me. If somebody were to do a 10-question quiz about Rowie to those people who think they are my friends, they wouldn't be able to answer the question. I'll give you a fun side note to that. When Cayman and I got married, my gorgeous husband, we were both full-time personal results coaches, exercise coaches at the time. I had 64 clients managing a health club, teaching 15 classes a week, and he had 3 different exercise businesses. And when we got married, all of the people that were our clients, customers, members of our businesses, all felt that they were very good friends of ours. So we invited everybody, because people would have been offended if we didn't invite them. And they did say that to us: if you don't invite me to your wedding, I'll be very offended. But it was funny because we did a quiz about us at our wedding and nobody knew any of the answers, because nobody knew anything about us. And if you're a superb communicator in business, it's an 80-20 rule. You do 80% of the listening, 20% of the talking is only asking questions. You don't ever talk about yourself. But I'm asking this question. I don't want to be the person that people are annoyed by, don't like, can't be bothered spending time with. I'm just sharing with you because I don't like people to talk about the weather, but this is really exciting. It's getting really windy and there's snow on the mountain and it's freezing cold and I just love it. Now, I don't like to talk about the weather, but just for fun, because it's so awesome, I just have. Please be an interested person rather than trying to be interesting. Don't waste time with people that don't care about you. I'm old enough to say that now. I don't want to waste my time with people that don't care. So I'm not going as often. I don't stay as long, and I ask some of those ridiculous questions. Did you know that there's a green leprechaun climbing the mountain behind me and he's got four legs and 2 heads? Ridiculous thing to say, but I actually used that today, and somebody said to me, you ready? In the conversation, I used that exact statement, and they said to me, oh, really? Tell me about what you're going to be doing. Sorry, I said, tell me about you and what you're going to be doing, and they just continued talking. So have fun with your conversations, add value to the conversations that you're in, and don't let somebody steal your time, because life is too short to have somebody waste your time talking about negative stuff, boring stuff, gossiping and criticising. Could that be a great way to live your life to the max? Check out my mountain and my snow. Woo!